Yeah. Only for a bit. When are you coming back down? About 12:30. Oh, were you? Oh, I was doing a show. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll just be in the background. Hmm? Yeah, there's 2 there. Yeah, there's a box in the box.
Just hold me tight, no words I needed.
Evening, everybody. I thought I'd go live for a bit. There's been so much transfer news at the moment. There's just been so much going on with players that we're linked with, players going to other clubs. It's been a bit chaotic, so I thought I'd do a quick update on a load of transfers and transfer news and players we're linked with and new players and all the stuff that's been going on. I thought I'd do a quick maybe 30 minutes rifle through a few links and then also kind of look at the team because we all seem to be going a bit crazy saying we need all these transfers, but do we actually need all these transfers when the team looks pretty done and complete? So just wanted to go through that. If you haven't liked, subscribe, please do. Obviously, if you're watching this back, write some comments in there if you want. I know this is quite out of the blue. I normally post up and stuff that I'm doing a show, but I've got a quick 30 minutes, so I thought I'd do it. So really, I wanted to go through just a couple of the players that we seem to be linked with, and also players from our own squad. So I wanted to go through our own squad first. So I'm just going to be sharing some tabs. First of all, this is one which is recently being talked about. I've got to add it to the stage. There you go. Obviously, we know that Seth van der Berg has said that he doesn't want to stay at Liverpool. He wants to move. He's now been linked with PSV. The interesting thing about it is he was obviously linked with Mainz for a long time, and Mainz seemed to think that they could get him, but we slapped a £20 million price tag on him. And we understand that the PSV aren't going to meet 20 million. However, they could probably meet 15 plus. And I know there's a lot of stuff knocking around about the fact that Bologna are looking at Seth van der Berg, and obviously we're linked with Calafiore. We're not linked with Calafiore. Can we please stop the Calafiore stuff? Like, I know you want Calafiore at Liverpool. I do too. But we're not linked with Calafiore. The only link to Calafiore is through Richard Hughes when he was the sporting director at Bournemouth and they tried to sign him, which was 2 years ago, by the way. It wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago. And he got sold from Roma to Basel. And that's the reason why we've got links to Calafiore. Okay. So just bear in mind, Bologna might be interested in Vandenberg, but Vandenberg will be a sale to Bologna. There's nothing to do with Calafiore. Okay, if we don't sign Calafiore, it's because we don't want him, and that's just the way it is. Okay, like I know everybody's going crazy. The fact that we're not signing all these players. Like I know you want players. I know clubs are signing players, and you're looking at them going, why aren't we signing him? Why aren't we getting him? You have to trust. You have to trust Edwards and Hughes. You have to. Like Edwards has done nothing wrong for me to doubt him. And if he picks Hughes and he thinks Hughes is the guy, then I trust Hughes. Like, and where does Calafiore go? Because he's a starter, by the way. He comes straight into the team and starts. So are we going to play Calafiore as a left back? Because he doesn't play as a left back for Italy. He doesn't play as a left back for Bologna. He plays as a centre back. So he plays on the left side. Guess who plays on the left side for Liverpool? Virgil van Dijk, our most undroppable player. So I don't know, but let's just calm down a bit about the Calafiore stuff because it looks like he's going to Arsenal. It looks like Arsenal have put in a £40 million bid today. It's probably going to get rejected. Arsenal are going to overpay for this guy. Arsenal are going to pay 50+ million for this guy. I know they will. Arsenal get ripped off for everyone. That's just the way it works with Arsenal. That's the one. Okay. Unfortunately, last year, by the way, Calafiore said he wanted to go to Chelsea or West Ham. Okay. So if he ends up at Chelsea, then did we really want him in the first place? But we'll see. Okay. So Seth Vandenberg is going to be sold. That's a fact. Whether he goes to PSV, whether he goes to Bologna, whether he even goes to a Premier League team. But for me, I'm fine with that. If we could get 20 million, 15 to 20 million for him, I'm absolutely fine. He cost us 4 million. Like, that's great business. I see what you're talking about, Neil, and I'm gonna cover that as well. I'm gonna cover that one, mate. All right. Trust in Hughes. That's what I'm saying with this one. Okay. Okay, great. Next up, I might as well talk about this one then because he's basically just mentioned it in the chat. So Ait-Nouri's first choice is Liverpool, according to Birmingham World. Right. What I'm doing is I'm showing you the news from the local areas, and this is from Wolves. This is out of Wolves. Okay. Wolves don't want to sell this guy, but this guy wants to come to Liverpool, and this guy's been on our list for a long time. We were looking at Ait-Nouri when he was in France before he signed for Wolves, and we didn't get him because Klopp didn't want him, didn't want to spend the money, and didn't want anyone to be back up to Robbo because he didn't want to hurt Robbo's feelings by getting a guy in to be behind Robbo. This is before Shimikas. Ait-Nouri's been there for I think he's been there for like 4 years now. But we were looking at him when he was in France. I know there's a lot of rumours about 50 million. Apparently, we could get him for 30, maybe even 35. Okay. So watch this space. Watch this space. That is a guy that is gettable, and that is a guy that we've had our eye on for a long time, and he knows it. Okay. I hear you. I hear you. I think he's a sensational player. I really do. I think he's a Robbo upgrade. I think he really is. I think he might need a bit of work on his defending, but I mean, his attacking is phenomenal. Like, he would be a real threat. You know, he scored a few goals as well. Like, if you look at So if you look at the way Bayer Leverkusen play, yeah, and they've got Grimaldo and they've got Frimpong, and they basically scored double figures. I think Ait-Nouri could score double figures in a team which uses his wing backs, and that's pretty much what Slot does. So I think that's an interesting signing. I also think that's the type of signing that we want to be looking at. He's 23 years old. He's Premier League proven. He's played loads of games. He's had a lot of good games. He's had a lot of good games against us as well. He's had a lot of good games against good teams. Like he always turns up against Man City, by the way. And he's a gettable guy. He's a gettable transfer, and no one else is linked with him, by the way. And that's the way Liverpool work. Liverpool work like that. Robbo had a stinky Euros, and he's not been great for a couple of years, if I'm honest. And we probably are looking at him thinking maybe it's time to move him on. Ait-Nouri is perfect replacement. So watch this space. I think that could be a sign, and that could happen. I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover this one actually, because I think we probably need to stop talking about this one as well. So you obviously heard about Bajrin Gruda, who was the guy from Mainz, who was the Kosovan. I think he was Kosovan, who we were linked with. He was a 20-year-old winger. There was a lot of stuff in the news about him, saying that Liverpool were interested in him. Looks like he's going to Aston Villa, and it looks like he's going to Aston Villa for about 50 million. By the way, so they can go and spunk 50 million on him. He's had one good season. I think he played 18 games and scored like 6 goals. Like if that's what you want to spend 50 million on, fill your boots. Like I want a guy that's solid. I want a guy that's played over 150 games. I want a guy that's proven for quite a while. I want the numbers. I want the data. There's none to go with this guy. Villa want to spend that. Crack on. So let's just take him off. So we'll just remove him from our list. Another cover this one. This is another one as well, which I kind of want to put this one to bed as well. If you haven't heard about Ryan McKeedu, who everyone's been raving about, and everyone thought that we were stealing him from Chelsea's academy, he's gone to Man City. Okay, so that one's gone. Okay, we can end that one as well. I'm fed up of us sniffing around Chelsea's academy. Like we've got a good enough academy ourselves that we're now going to use properly, and we're now going to send people out on loans, and they're going to go on the right loans, and they're going to move away from the first team because they shouldn't be doing first team training when they're 16. None of our 16-year-old kids or 17-year-old kids should be playing men's football at that age. They just shouldn't. They should be learning their trade and playing in the under 18s and the under 21s, and they shouldn't be playing. They shouldn't be training with Virgil van Dijk and all the first team players when they're 16 years old, because that's men's training. That's not kids training. And you wonder why we get all our kids injured. It's because they're playing with the men and they're doing training with the men. It's irresponsible. That will stop under the new regime. I can guarantee Slot will not let that happen. Like the kids will be like, "Oh, why aren't I playing with Salah and Virgil and that?" And Slot will be like, "That's because they're doing men's training, mate. They're doing 80% capacity. You guys want to only be doing 20% capacity because you're kids." That's how it works. Look how it works. If you don't believe me, look how it works, because that's how training works for kids and for the adults. And that's the reason why you got Ben Doak getting injuries, and you've got Cade Gordon, and you've got Stefan Bajcetic, and you've got, Clark. You've got all these guys, Ramsey. You've got all these guys getting injured because they're doing men's training and they're kids. Anyway, I'll move on. So this guy's not coming to us. This one's interesting that I wanted to cover, just in case you didn't know. It's quite insane, to be fair, but with the Euros and the Copa America and the previous competitions like the AFCON and stuff like that that's happened, and also the Asia Cups, we're looking at 120 million payment off the back of that, because the clubs get paid for every day their players are away. So for the Euros, it's £7,000 a day for a player that's away. So it's a lot of money. So looking at the last couple of competitions, there's around 120 million payments that could come in from the UEFA that we're due because of all our players being away. That's a real interesting one that I don't think people knew about, because I didn't know about it. So I thought I'd mention that, because that's a fair chunk of money to come in. I'll cover it a little bit more if you want. So it's called UEFA and FIFA pay clubs from across the world a remuneration package. So I think we've got 10 players in the Euros, and then another 3. Is it 3 or 4 in the Copa America? So yeah, so we could get, because of the championships, 110 million for the Euros. Sorry, yeah, 119 million for 2024, and we got 110 million for 2020, and we wouldn't have even known that. We'd have never known that about that money. Like, that's a really interesting one, but now we do. So there's money there. What are you right there? I mean, I get that, but look at Owen. Just look at Owen. Like, Owen had some horrific injuries when he was young, because we burnt him out. He got overplayed, and Robbie Fowler kind of dropped off, didn't he, at a certain age? And we obviously sold him. I mean, I get that, but the proof's in the pudding now, and we've had too many kids that have been injured, like, repeatedly, and it's getting a bit silly. So that's why I say that will probably stop. And we all like it. We all like seeing the kids with the adults, like, doing training, but they shouldn't be doing the same training. They shouldn't be doing the same training. What's that? Yeah, that's true, mate. That's true, mate. It's true. That's probably yeah, that probably is money. I mean, they're freaks of nature, aren't they? Let's be fair. They're quite freakish. There's not a huge amount of them, is there? So what else did I want to cover? I want to cover this one, which is good news. Just gonna look screen down. Yeah, just wanted to cover this one. So yeah, I want to cover this one. So it's actually been confirmed now. That Mo Salah and Endo are not in the Olympic squads, so we're going to have them available for pre-season, which I think is brilliant news, because we've got a very thin squad for pre-season, because we're going to have a good 6 or 7 players that are going to be away, because they'll be going all the way through to the semi-finals, finals of the competitions, and then they've got 3 weeks off after that. So to lose Salah and Endo during that period for the Olympics would have been a big blow. That would have been a big blow. Like, so that's good news. There you go. Enough said. Genius. Also wanted to cover this. No, I'm not. Okay. Okay, actually, I'll cover this because this is from an Algerian journalist. Sorry, an Algerian. I think I've said that wrong twice. An Algerian. Anyway, you know what I mean. Journalist Abdul Hamid sparked interest when he tweeted that Ait-Nouri set to leave Wolves this summer with Liverpool as the leading contenders. I mean, that's all you need to know, really, innit? So I think that's enough. That's enough for us to know that we're now starting to get linked with him, and he's been. Oh, yeah. Here's the details here. Actually, sorry. Okay, he's got a release clause. In case you didn't know. So the Leggett reports will not entertain offers below 40 million euros, 33 million, while Nouri's release is 38 million. Sources close to Homeland are confident that he will depart Wolves this summer, with Liverpool being the most probable destination. That's all you need to know, really, isn't it? Is everyone happy that we'll get him? Because I think he's a fantastic player. Last season he was unbelievable for Wolves. It's interesting as well because we're about to get Alvin Allen, who's another Wolves left back, who's 16. We're about to sign him as well, so we're about to raid their kids, raid their youth team for a guy who was on the bench for Wolves first team, by the way, last season. Who's very highly rated, and also their current left back. Do you think 33 million is a good price for him? I think that's great money, and let's be honest, that really does sit in the ballpark, doesn't it? That sits in the money. 30 million, 35 million, 40 million. Isn't that the sweet spot? Isn't that the figures that Edwards likes to work in? Because he doesn't like to get ripped off. Yeah, I think so. If we get him for 30 million, I think that's unbelievable business. I really do. And if Arsenal spend 50, 60 million on Calafiore, then we can just sit there and go, who got the better deal? I don't know. Who knows? Um, anyway, that was a bit more information on that. I also wanted to share this as well because this is a person which nobody's talked about, and his name is Miguel Gutierrez. Um, so he was signed to Girona from Real Madrid for 2.6 million in 2022. He's only 22, by the way, which is another good age, by the way. He's kind of Liverpool's age that we're looking at. He had a really good season with Girona and obviously got them into the Champions League. He was their first team starter. Barcelona. Real Madrid have got a £6.5 million buyback clause, which they're going to activate. So they're going to buy him back for 6.5 million, and then they're going to sell him for 30 million. And Liverpool are linked with him. So are Manchester United as well, by the way. Sorry, Dortmund, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal are interested in him. Also, Ten Hag's obsessed with taking him to Old Trafford, but they don't think they're going to be able to afford him because they're trying to get Manuel Garfe, who's going to cost them like 50 million plus. What do you think of that? Does anybody know about him? He's Spanish. He's from Real Madrid's youth system. He's a left back. He had a brilliant season for Girona, absolutely brilliant season for Girona. So he's another player which is kind of not heard about him. Kind of fits the profile for Liverpool, but he's only had one good season in the Spanish league, but it was a very good season. So I'm not sure it's someone we probably go for because he hasn't had two. Actually, has he had two seasons? He signed him in 2022, 2022, 2023, 2023, 20. He's had 2 seasons at Girona, so he's had 2 good seasons actually. I don't know. Let me know what you think of that. Let me know if you know about him. If anybody knows about him, write it in the chat because I don't know a huge amount about him. But it was somebody that popped up. And this is from Manchester, local news. So what else have we got in here? I'm just having a look at what you wrote in the chat, guys and girls. If we don't need a centre back, we probably go for a left. Yeah. I mean, Ait-Nouri and Ederson. I mean, even if it was a, and I've got another guy that I want to mention, by the way, and I don't think I've got it saved, and I'm gonna find it now. So I talked about this on other channels. Hang on 2 seconds, just bear with me. Oh, where's the link? Oh, where's the link? Okay, so okay, I think it's that one. Nope. Right, bear with me. Okay, I'm gonna have to look through my history. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to look through my history. Okay, I can say his name anyway, so maybe you can talk about it in the chat. I've got so there's an actual news article that says that Leny Yoro's agreed terms with Liverpool. I'm just going to say that right now. Okay, Leny Yoro has agreed terms with Liverpool. Okay, and the deal is 50 million. I'm just going to find the article. 2 seconds. Where is it? Where is it? It's from earlier today. I know, Neil. I know. I'm sorry. I'd like to stop it. But it does. But it does look like Real Madrid have pulled out. So Real Madrid aren't willing to go to the 50 million pound price tag that they want. Liverpool are. 50 million is, I mean, it's a lot of money, but this guy's generational. Like I really, really feel this guy's generational. I can't find the bloody link. Oh, it's in here somewhere. Oh, yeah, I've got it. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna open up this, and you're all gonna wet your pants probably. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Liverpool agree personal terms with Leny Yoro, and Trent opens up contract talks for July, which is like 2 really good bits of news all at once. So I'm going to scroll down because it's actually got the website. Where's the website? Here. Where is it? No, where's the website? So there's an actual website. There's an actual website, and it's in France. Sorry, no, it's in Spain, which is posted up the links. I need to find it. You can search for it yourself. You will be able to find it. It was posted up today. But yeah, apparently Leny Yoro's agreed terms. Real Madrid won't go to the won't go to the 50 million. Real Madrid will only offer 40 million euros, which is way below what who does he play for again? I can't bloody remember now. Is it Lille? It's Lille, isn't it? Is it Lille? Yeah. So I actually think it's less than 50 million. I think it's probably about 42 million. It might be more. The thing about it though, and I will say this, is there's only really two players that Liverpool have actually been linked with properly, like properly linked with two players. It's Leny Yoro and it's Edison, and that's just a fact. Like Ornstein, Fabrizio, and loads of the journos like Paul Joyce and Lynch and loads of the outlets, they've all said Liverpool are gung ho on getting Yoro and Edison, and that's just a fact. Like all the other players, nobody reliable that Liverpool give any information out to have actually announced it. So it makes perfect sense that these are the guys that we probably will end up signing. Like, and if we get ahead of Real Madrid, then so be it. You know, if we offer 20 million quid more than Real Madrid, then if that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do. Like Leny Yoro wants to go to Real Madrid. That is a fact. Like, and why wouldn't he? Like, but if Liverpool are offering a package which his club wants, and if he's interested because he wants to move and nobody else is knocking on the door, then what does he do? Is he going to choose us over, I don't know, like a PSG or a Manchester United or a Chelsea? I think he would. I think he'd choose us over all of those clubs because of the history, because of Liverpool, because of the Champions League. It just makes sense. It makes sense that if he's not picking Real Madrid, then he's picking Liverpool. And if he wants anyone to use as a role model, then he can use Virgil van Dijk. Like, because this guy is generational. And the interesting thing is, and you've just hit the nail on the head, by the way, Alex, I actually think Konate could be sold. His name's popping up in the media, and Liverpool are worried about his injury problems because his injury problems are muscle injuries, and he's getting them for France. Like he's injured for France, or he's sick, or he's pulled a, he's not reliable. This guy has played for 2 years and he's 18 and he's never been injured. And he's done 30 plus games a season in a French league with men, and he's been 17 and 18. To get an 18-year-old central defender that is that good is really, really rare. Like we've stumbled across a gem in Quansah, 21 years old, and to be able to be that good in central defence is unbelievable. But to find an 18-year-old who's 3 years younger than him and to be that good, like he's knocking on the door of the French team. Like I think he's probably the next person in the French team because you've got Upamecano, you've got oh God, what's his bloody name? Plays for Arsenal. Who's the guy who plays for Arsenal? You got him. You got Konate. Then you've got Hernandez. I think you've then got him. I think he's probably fifth. I think he's probably fifth in line for the French centre back. A phenomenal player. If you haven't watched him, watch him. He's a Rolls Royce. He's another Virgil van Dijk. Anyway, apparently we've agreed terms, which is great news. There's another couple of interesting things which have obviously come out. Like Keprin Thuram's going to go to Juventus. Apparently that's all sorted. He's going to go for like 23 million. I know that's not a lot of money. The thing about Keprin Thuram is, where does he play? Like, where does he play? Like, he's not going to be a DM for Liverpool. So where does he play? He's not going to play. He's not going to play on the right because Mac's there and Jones is back up. You know, it's an interesting one. I do think he's a good player. He is a bargain. You're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. But where does he play? He doesn't get into our team. Like, personally, I think Tyler Morton's probably better than him, if I'm honest. I think Tyler Morton's a really, really good player. And if he does go, I think we're going to watch that and we're going to go, ooh. But I do think if he does go, I think we'll probably have buyback clauses on him. I think that's going to be installed into all the players. Because if you look at the players that Edwards sold, there's knock-on clauses and buy-on clauses and, you know, extra money that we get back off players now that they're being sold. Even years later, Coutinho had money on him. We know that Dominic Solanke's got money on him. You know, all these players, if they get sold on, we get money because we had a really good director of football that installed these things into players' deals, and he'll do the same. He'll do the same. I get the Archie Gray thing as well. I'm a little bit annoyed that we couldn't have maybe, you know, spent 30 million and gave them Nat Phillips, you know, or spent 30 million and gave them a Tyler Morton. You know what I mean? I get that, but they paid over 40 million, by the way. I know it's like announced that it's 35 million. They paid over 40 million. They gave them a player that was worth 10 million. So they lost 10 million there straight away. So I think he probably cost nearly 50 million. I'm being honest. And if you look at Van der Ven that they bought, everyone was saying he was only 30 million. It worked out he was 47 million in the end, with all the add-ons and stuff. So they paid top dollar for him, which is probably why we didn't sign him, because he was that expensive. So I think that's an interesting one. I think Archie Gray's near the £50 million mark with all of the add-ons, and the fact that they chucked in a £10 million player for free. And Archie Gray, does he get into our team? Like, does he start? Does he get any game time? You know, we've got a lot of midfielders. We just have. Like, we've got one of them which is probably up for sale because he's not going to get in. Yeah, I rate Van der Ven as well. I think that was a play we probably should have got, but we had a director of football that was too busy partying Ibiza, and that one kind of flew past him when his own relative was the director of football at the club that he sold him from. He thought we could have got a good deal on him. Yeah, yeah. I actually think the Georgian goalkeeper has probably had a few bob on his value, but apparently he's got a £43 million release clause. I think he's worth a punt. He's 23 years old. Mamavashvili, absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable goalkeeper. I'm fed up of hearing that guy's name, João Neves. Like, I'm not doing business with Benfica. Like, you start trying to buy players off Benfica, you end up paying 100 million. Like, I don't know. Isn't he about 5'6", 5'7"? Like, is he going to be able to cut it in the Premier League as a DM at that height, or will he just get bounced off the ball? Ask yourself that question. I'd rather someone else spend 100 million on him, and then we see him. But if we got Yoro and Ait-Nouri for like 75 million, I think that's a great window. I really do. I think that's a great window. And also You're not wrong there. Professional. They are professionals. Oh, okay, I get you. Okay, I get you. Okay. I haven't seen you on the channel before. Big up, Seth. By the way, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. If you do like, then it helps the algorithm. It does say it on the bottom. I appreciate it. He's 5'8", same as Kante. Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know. It's a lot of money. I'd probably sign Kante. How much will you get Kante for? Also, wanted to mention the Rabiot links as well. I know that Rabiot is on a free transfer. Like he's left Juventus. He said he's not going to sign a new contract. So he's left. Apparently his mum, who's supposed to be an absolute nightmare to deal with because that's his agent as well. She's gone around to all the big clubs offering him, and she's offered him to Barcelona, and he's willing to reduce his wages to play there. So unfortunately, I think he'll probably end up at Barca. Barca will do whatever they can, can't they, to get to not spend money. So there's a good chance. There's a good chance he'll go to Barca. He wanted like 140 grand apparently, and they're paying him like 70 grand at the moment at Juventus. I do think he's a good player, but he's 29, and he's another one of those guys which I think he's a bit past the age that we're looking at. And I'll also mention Kimmich in there as well, because Kimmich has been linked with us loads. I think it's clickbait. I think it's just links because we got Thiago. I think Kimmich will probably end up at Man City. He looks like the type of player that Man City would sign. They signed Kovacevic as well. He was like 28, 29. They don't mind signing older players. I think he'll go to Man City. He's also played under Pep before at Bayern Munich, so he kind of suits them. And let's be honest, if he comes in as a right back, then he's a perfect cover for Walker, who's slowly going downhill. And for me, he'll probably end up in Saudi. And he can like marry 50 wives out there, can't he? Because that's what Walker does, doesn't he? The scumbag. Yeah, true. That's a good point. That's a good point as well. We want to be looking at the signings that we make now. We don't want to be making any dickhead signings, do we? Like we've been burned with a lot of players like that in the past. I think we've got a good squad harmony. Getting rid of Henderson was helped that, by the way. He was terrible in the dressing room. Milner was good, but Hendo was a bit of a it was a bit of a we won't say anymore. We might have some Hendo-sexuals in here as well, so I'm not slagging him off. He was a great player for us, but he was a bit of a nightmare in the changing room. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So what I will say is we'll actually go through some of the players that. So I'll kind of break down the squad that I think we'll have next season. I've just been chatting to my mate on WhatsApp about it, so I'll just kind of read off what I think. The players that I think will probably go, and so I'll do the outs first. Okay, so I think that Morton will go, unfortunately. Berg, Diaz, Fabio, Costas. I think they'll all be sold, and a possibility of Gomez as well. The reason why I say Gomez is because he did that interview and he said that he wants to be first team. Well, he's not going to be first team unless we don't sign a left back and he plays as a left back. He's not going to be first team at Liverpool. So I think Gomez could be sold as well. The players that I think will go out on loan, I know you just wrote that in there, Christian, and I'm just going to say that now. I think Doak, Clark, McConnell, Gordon, Dans, Kumas, and Scanlon. I think they'll all go out on loan. And Canate is the one which I'm just not sure about. I believe that Trent will have a contract signed in July. I believe that we're waiting till the end of the year to sort out Virgil van Dijk's and Salah's. Apparently that's been talked about. Virgil van Dijk's got a gentleman's agreement, and Mo Salah, we're just giving Mo Salah as much time as he wants. But I don't think Mo's going to go to Saudi, because Saudi aren't looking at these big massive players, because they've used a lot of their transfer budget, and they gave like a certain allocation, and they looks like they've already spent it. It's a good shout. It's a good shout, because Leeds are looking to sell Gonto and Somerville. Somerville could be going to PSG now, by the way. There's a possibility that he was going to Brighton, but looks like Brighton have got Yakubu Minte, so they've signed him. I do think he's a good signing, but I do think 33 million is a lot of money. And there's add-ons to take it up to 40. So that's a lot of money for a 19-year-old that's only had one good season, and it was in the Dutch league. That's all we need to know, don't we? There's also links as well which have come out today. I haven't got the website open, but I was looking at it before. It looks like Murillo from Murillo from Nottingham Forest has asked to leave, and it looks like they've lowered the price from 70 million, which they were looking for originally, which is completely ridiculous when they paid 12. Like, you paid 12 million for a player, you nearly got relegated, yeah, and now you want 70. You're out of your mind. Like, so now they've lowered the fee to 50 million euros. So that's an interesting one. He can play left as well. He can play left-sided as well. Yeah, I do like him as well, but I think he probably needs another year. I think he needs to be proven a bit more. Like let's be honest, Forest nearly got relegated, and he was a centre back. I mean, he was probably the best centre back, but still a bit. To be honest, Alex, I don't mind sending a couple of kids to Leeds. Like Thomas, like Falca does decent stuff with the youngsters, you know, and we seem to have a decent amount of youngsters going in the Championship. Like I don't think they're good enough to go in the Premier League, and I also don't want to send players on loan in the Premier League if they're not going to play. What's the point? So, you know, if we do send the likes of Chambers or Beck, or even Morton goes out on loan again, or then you got like McConnell, Dans, Doak, Gordon, Clark, any of those guys, you know, a Championship club would be good. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I don't know. You know, I think Somerville's not a bad player. I think he's got a bit of data behind him as well. I'll be honest. Like, he had a decent season in the Premier League before they got relegated. Like, I think he scored 6 goals in the Premier League in like 20 odd games, which isn't bad. And then he obviously went down, and he was the Championship player of the season. You know, I think he scored like 19 goals and 12 assists. So he's 20 to 23 years old now. But I think they want 40 odd million, 40, 50 million for him. I think that's a lot. I don't know. But to be fair, where does he play? He doesn't get in ahead of Gapco for me. And I did want to talk about Gapco, but I'll talk about Gapco in a minute. So the players that I had in the team, is 22. Okay, he's 22. Okay, big up. So I think on the left hand, so we can start at we start in goal. Okay. So I think Alisson Becker, Queven Keller if he doesn't get sold, and Jaros. There's your three goalkeepers. If Queven goes, then I think we sign a good backup goalkeeper. And we have been linked with Mamardashvili, by the way. I know that's a lot of money, but if you're getting 40 million for Keller, then you can spend 40 million on Mamardashvili. Or we sign another goalkeeper, but we have just got a goalkeeping coach, which can also be our third choice goalkeeper because he's 33 years old. And he's now coming back. Otto, I can't remember his second name, by the way, if someone puts it in the chat, because the USA lost, so they're out of the Copa America. So there's a good chance he'll be back soon. And he could be our third choice goalkeeper. So we could have Ali, Keller, or Jaros, and then Otto as third choice. That could work. I think on the right hand side it would be Trent and Bradley, and that's good enough. Two great players. And then on the right side centre back, you've got Canate and Quansah, or Quansah and Canate, which is brilliant. That's enough. Then on the left side as centre back, Virgil van Dijk or Loro, or maybe another player that we don't know yet. We're also linked with Huysen as well, who's the guy at Juventus, who's a Danish wonder kid, and Daniel Huysen. And we're also linked with him. And then you've got the likes of Robbo, Beck, or Chambers, or Ait-Nouri. So it would be Ait-Nouri with a Robbo, Beck, or Chambers as backup. But I do think Chambers might go back out on loan again. But him or Beck could be another Bradley for us if they get game time. I think they're ready to go. Like, I think they could actually be ready. I think Beck could be ready to go into the first team as backup. I really do. So it could be Ait-Nouri and Beck, or it could be Robbo and Beck if we don't get Ait-Nouri. I don't know, but we have to watch this space. And then in midfield on the right, because I'm playing with a 4-2-3-1, which is Slot's preferred formation. So on the right hand side of midfield, I've got McAllister, and then I've got Curtis Jones as backup, which I think is fine. Then on the left hand side, I've got Endo Stefan to back up Edison or Ugarte, because we've been linked with Edison lots, and Edison's gone quiet, and now Edison's been linked with us again. And the Edison links were with Ornstein, Joyce, and also apparently we've agreed terms with him. So there's a lot of stuff around that. The Ugarte thing is, if we really want Ugarte and Manchester United are trying to sign him, I think we'll just go in and sign him like ahead of Manchester United, and we'll just break their hearts like we did with Gapco. So that would be fun. And Man United are having real trouble trying to get rid of Casemiro. So if they can't get rid of Casemiro, then Ugarte is not going to be signed. So that's the midfield sorted for me. Stefan could go out on loan. I have seen people write in the chat that they think Stefan could go on loan, and I do tend to agree. He could do with a loan. In the number 10 position, I've got Dominic Szoboszlai, I've got Gravenberch, and I've got Elliott as three players that could play there. You've also got the likes of Carvalho as well, who could play there if he stays. So you've got plenty of cover for that area. Then on the left-hand side, in the three behind the striker, I've got Hakpo and I've got Jota. I think Jota could be cover for the forward as well. So I've got Nunes and then I've got Jota because I do think Diaz will be sold. But unfortunately, I think Diaz might be a player that goes on the window, like within like the last couple of days of the transfer window. And I don't think we'll get a player to replace him. I just feel like that's probably going to rumble on. And then on the right-hand side, I've got Salah and I've got Elliott for that position. You've also got the likes of I think Bradley could play there as well. I think Bradley could do a really good job attacking midfield. So you've got options there, and that puts 11 on the pitch, and that puts 11 in reserve. That's your team. That's 22 players. You've only got 25. So, and I haven't even included the 2 players that we might be signing. So that gives you 24 players. I'd really like to know where all these signings are going to go, because I've just gone through the entire squad with backup, and I haven't had any of the kids in there, and I've also taken 6 players out who were selling. You have to look at it. Where do these players go? So the likes of 2 signings, I think, is fine. A left back and a defender. Sorry, 3 signings. A left back, central defender, and a midfielder. And I think that's us covered. I really do. And I get it. And I get people want the Kvaratskhelia or the Nico Williams or the Rodrigos. Like, I get it. I get we want those players. I really do. Like I said on Kopish TV that I think our marquee signing will be Rodrygo. But unfortunately, I do think we need to sell a forward for us to get Rodrygo, because Rodrygo isn't going to turn up and be a backup player. He's going to be our marquee signing, which means he goes straight into the first team. So a player needs to be moved out of the first team, which means it's going to be Diaz or it's going to be Jota, or even both, for a Rodrygo to come in, because Rodrygo plays on the left or he plays on the right. Well, he's not going to play on the right because Salah's going to be there. And is he going to play on the left? Because Gakpo deserves to play. And this form and the way Gakpo's been playing, probably for the last 8 games for me, and he's took his Liverpool form into the Euros and taken it on and carried on and been really, really good. Like assists, goals, being a really good player. That could play into the minds of Hughes and Edwards and Slot. And Edwards and Hughes could be sat there going to Slot, we could get you Rodrygo for like 120 million. Like, he could be your marquee signing. And Slot could be sat there going, I've got Gakpo there. Like, Gakpo's scoring goals for fun. Like, he needs a chance. Like, he wasn't played in the right. Your Rodrygo could go up front then. And Slot's like, well, I've got Nunes who's just scored 6 goals in 9 games for Uruguay. He's on fire. Like, he's the top goal scorer in the Copa America. Like, Gakpo's the top goal scorer in the Euros. Like, and he sat there going, well, what am I going to do with him? Like, and then he can say, oh, well, maybe Jota. Jota's been probably one of the best players for Portugal, but he just hasn't been played enough. So it's a case of, what does he do? Like, he's going to want to give his players a chance. And I get the Neto thing, but they're going to want 60 million for Neto. I think the minimum they're going to ask for is 60, 70 million for Neto. He is their star man. He really is their star man. And look, I don't see us spending 70 million on a player who's had some horrific injuries in the last 2 years. He's still a brilliant player, by the way. Like, I don't not rate Neto, but he's not a 70 million pound player. He is very risky. Like, he's not even getting play for Portugal, really, is he? Let's be honest. He can't even get the Portuguese team. And if you can't get ahead of Rafa Leao, who was just dog shit, I don't care what anyone says. I don't know why people rate him. He's not a good player. He reminds me of Balotelli. He really does remind me of Balotelli. Sorry. I think Rodrygo goes straight into the first team. I really do. Like if we sign Rodrygo, look, I'll say this right up here now, and I'm a massive Mo Salah fan. I would be okay with selling Mo Salah if we replaced him with Rodrygo and played him on the right. I'd be fine. Honestly, I'd be okay. And I don't think we'd miss him. I think Rodrygo could get you 30 GA every season. I think he is a special player. I actually think he's better than Vinny Jr. I really do. He's the standout performer for Brazil at the moment as well. I just think he needs to play in the position that he's good at because he's not playing in the right position. Rodrygo for me is basically a Mane for us when we signed him. He came into the team and he got shifted onto the opposite side because they already had a guy that was there. Real Madrid were like, well, we got Vinny Jr. there. You're gonna have to play the other side, mate. And he's like, well, I play where Vinny does. Well, sorry, mate, Vinny's there. You're gonna have to go the other side. And he's managed to cut it on the other side. And the fact that Mbappe's just been signed and he's going to play where he plays, what happens to Rodrygo? Rodrygo was their best player last season. Rodrygo scored all their important goals that got them into the Champions League final, by the way. Like I know the guy that they've just got rid of scored the goals in the Champions League final. But Rodrygo scored the goals in the run-up. And he's 22 years old. And he scored over 100 goals for Real Madrid already. I mean, just let that sink in. Can you imagine having a player at Liverpool who's 22 years old and he's scored 100 goals for you already? That in itself is bonkers. It really is. You know, and he's available. He's available. He's 123 million euros. He's available. Like, pay the money, get him, and then move Salah on, and we're all fine. And the conversation's over then about is he staying, is he going? You know, and you'll get 123 million for Mo Salah. You just will. Like PSG will probably play it. Anyway, I rate him so much. Probably more than Elise. Big up, Gary. I think he will. Well, if you look at it, so okay, so right now they have, and these are two players which they haven't even played much, by the way, but they're there and they're not going away. So they've got Vinny Jr. on the right hand side, which is where Rodrygo plays, and then they've got Rodrygo on the left. They've just signed Mbappe, who's going to play on the right hand side, which means Vinny Jr. is going to have to swap over to the right to accommodate Mbappe. That's just a fact. They've just signed Endrick, who also plays on the left hand side. So you've got another left hand sided player, and they've also got Artur Gura, who's having an unbelievable Euros and also played the last 10 games for Real Madrid and scored 6 goals. So you've also got that kid and Endrick, who think Endrick's going to be a Ballon d'Or winner in the future. And they've got Mbappe. Where does Rodrygo play? Does Rodrygo play second fiddle? Or does Rodrygo fight it out for backup with Gula and Endrick? It's just not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, you know what I mean? Rodrygo is a first team player at any club. He comes into Man City's team and he goes into their first team. Like, he replaces anyone on the right hand side or anyone on the left hand side. Like, he really does. Like, he comes into an Arsenal team. Well, he replaces Martinelli straight away. I don't think he replaces Saka, but he replaces Martinelli straight away. He comes into Manchester United. He's a first team. Tottenham, first team. Newcastle, first team. Every team, he's first team. But he's not going to be first team at Real Madrid. Like, that guy needs to be sold because he needs to play first team football. And he's waited a long time to get his chance. And when he got his chance, he took it and he scored over 100 goals. So for me, I'd throw 120 million at him and Mo Salah can go. Or you get 60 million for Diaz and a couple of player sales and you throw the money at Rodrygo and you play him on the left hand side. And unfortunately, Gapco will have to play backup, but I just think he's a serious talent. Anyway, talked about him enough. I don't know about the Bakayoko thing. I don't think we rate Bakayoko. I think Slot rates Bakayoko. I also think Bakayoko is probably going to cost 50 plus million because he nearly went to Brentford for 40 and he's now done a Euros. And obviously he's out the Euros and he didn't really play that much. But I think Bakayoko's going to be expensive and I can see him going to like another team. I also think what's really interesting as well, if you didn't know, is Kudus had a release clause in his contract. Fabrizio Romano actually posted that his release clause ended at the end of June. So he had an £85 million release clause in his contract, Kudus. So everyone said that this release clause didn't start till 2025. The release clause ended in 2024. Same as Bruno Guimaraes. Both had release clauses that ended on the 30th of June. It's interesting. I don't think Brentford have got money because Archie Gray didn't go to Brentford because of the financing of the deal. Apparently, they wanted to pay in instalments, and Leeds weren't happy with that because obviously Leeds needed the money so they could get past PSR. So I don't think Brentford got a huge amount of money. They've just got rid of the manager as well, haven't they? Probably had to pay him. Big up Kingsman. No, that means the release clauses ended, which means that they don't have release clauses anymore. Which means that Kudus could be available for less, depending. Another interesting thing as well, which I've read, which I haven't put in the chat, is Crystal Palace are looking for 60 million for Guéhi. Guéhi is going to leave Crystal Palace. He's available for 60 million. It's actually been talked about at Crystal Palace. that Gahey wants to leave. He wants to play Champions League football. So I think that's one to watch as well. Gahey can also play left back and right back, by the way. He can play right across the back four. The only issue is Gahey is short, and we like tall defenders. That's just what our committee like. I don't think we'll ever sign a player under 6'2". I think all our defenders are always 6'2" plus. There's obviously Leny Yoro's like 6'4", I think. He's a freak of nature, by the way. Yeah, I think, and obviously other players we've been linked with are all really tall. I don't think we're bothered by the height on the wing, on the left back and right back side of things, but we do have quite tall wide players as well, which is interesting. Because if you look at Gapco, he's tall. You look at Robbo, he's tall. You look at Trent, he's tall. Bradley's tall. That's interesting. Dominic Szoboszlai's tall as well. If you want to kind of put him on the wings, obviously Ben Doak and Salah are quite short, and Elliot. But yeah, I haven't got much else to cover. Obviously, a lot of players have gone quiet. So the Keller stuff's gone quiet. The Gomez stuff's gone quiet. The Nunes stuff's gone quiet. Obviously, it was reported that Jose Mourinho wants Darwin Nunes, but that's on loan. Like I can't see us letting him go out on loan. I think Slot will want to have a look at him. And if you look at what happened with Guimaraes, I always butcher the name, who plays for Feyenoord, he got him from like a 12 to 15 goal a season striker to a 20 to 25 goal striker in the space of a year. And if you also look at his previous players that he's had for AZ Alkmaar, there's a guy called Bodu, who was an 18-year-old. He got him from like 5 goals a season to 20 goals a season, and he was 18 years old. So it looks like Slut's got previous he's got previous history of improving goals in the strikers, and he also plays single strikers. So he doesn't play 2 forwards, he plays 1. So he plays with 3 behind the 1, and he uses his wingers as pure wingers. Like they're there just to create chances. They don't score a huge amount of goals. So if you look at some of the players that he had with the likes of Minter and Zaxo and Stengs and he got another guy as well. I can't remember his name. Timber, maybe it was Timber. Put it in the chat if you know who the other guy was. They were only scoring like 5 to 10 goals a season. Like they'd be lucky to even get past 5 as his wingers for Feyenoord and also AZ Alkmaar. So it'd be interesting to see how he uses his left-sided and right-sided. Obviously, we don't want Salah to have like a 5-goal season. That's just not going to happen. Like that's just not going to happen. And Gakpo's not going to score less than 5 goals. That's just not going to happen. So it'd be interesting to see how he incorporates them. But I do think that the 3 behind the striker will help Nunes, because Nunes won't be having to do all that attacking midfield work. He'll be able to concentrate on being in the areas for the goals more. And I do think that having an extra attacking midfielder will help with Gapco and Salah, because he can do decoy runs and he can take away players so they can cut in and provide more goals and more chances for the strikers. And we'll probably get into the box more, because that's what Slot's teams do. They get into the box a high amount of times in games. The the wing play isn't going to be like natural wing play. I think that it's going to be hybrid. I think he's going to use maybe the runners to come alongside. The problem with Diaz, and this is something which I noticed a lot, is Diaz doesn't have a runner like a Robbo for Colombia. He is the runner, so he doesn't have an overlapping left back, which Diaz doesn't like. Like, I don't think Diaz likes that, and also I don't think Salah likes that. By the way, I don't think Salah needs an overlapping player because Salah wants the space to cut in. I think Diaz wants to go to the byline and produce, which he does for Colombia, which is interesting because he doesn't do that for Liverpool. I just think the Slot's going to come in and he's going to look at the team and he's just going to go, right, I've got a load of players, yeah, I've got a formation that I play. Do these players fit my formation? If they don't, then I'm going to change my formation to fit these players. And when it was Klopp, it was, I have a formation, I have players, I want these players to play, I'm going to fit them in no matter what, whether they suit the formation or not. They're going in the team. And that's the difference. And that's what's going to get us more success, I think, is to have round pegs for round holes and square pegs for square holes. And not have, oh, well, he can play all over the place, so we can just put him there and we can put him there. And it's like, no, it's disjointed. And that's the way we're going to play. And also with the committee, I think we're going to pick players that naturally fit those positions. And we're not just going to get a guy because we really want him and we don't want him to go to another club. And then we're just going to shoehorn him in somewhere because we really wanted him, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but we had a habit of doing it. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm also looking forward to like the next couple of days because, yeah, let all those teams make those signings. And, you know, we can sit there and go, oh, God, we really wanted him. We should have got him. Trust with what we've got. Because let's be honest, we were only a few games away from winning the league last season. We really were. We ran out of steam because we didn't have the players to cover all of the ground that we needed. And we had a drop off in forward scoring last season. Unfortunately, we were really close. We kind of threw it all away in 2 weeks. We just did. And unfortunately, I know you're probably not going to want to hear this, but a lot of it is down to Klopp. And a lot of it is down to the fact that he brought Robbo in from the cold and Trent in from the cold, who'd been injured, and brought Jota in when Jota wasn't fit and just threw them straight into the team and expected them to just take us to another level. When we should have just kept Gomez where he was and kept these players that had the form that was taking them into those games. But he decided, well, I've got my guys back now. I'm just going to throw them all in. And they just weren't ready because they hadn't done the fighting for the 2 previous months. Because we relied on every man and his dog that wasn't injured to get us through January, February, and March. And then when we started to get the players back, because we got about 4 players back at once, Klopp just went, now just chucking them all in. And it didn't work. Unfortunately, that's down to him. You know, the players gave it absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. And I'm still convinced if we had Matip fit all season and Jota, I think we'd have won the league. Just those 2 players alone. I think we'd have won the league. But it is what it is, and we move on to the new guy. And I think we're in a good place. And what I like is the fact that we're not making stupid signings, because we're not. we're going to sign the right players that we need for the right positions, and that's what's important. And we're not just going to get people because they're going to other clubs and we want them. That's not the way it works. And we're not making ridiculous signings, which is good. I can see that we've put price tags on people, which is good. And I can see that we've now moved on from the fact that we're not going to keep around Nat Phillips and all of these guys, Reece Williams and all of these players. And Seth Van der Beek wants to go. You can go, mate. See ya. Like we're putting price tags on players now, which is exactly what we need to do, and that's a good thing. And I feel that the committee are going to make the right choice, and we're going to sell the right players, and we're going to buy the right players. And if you look at the transfer window, which has just happened, that's the PSR transfer window. That's not the real transfer window. That's everybody helping each other out. And that's everybody saving each other's asses so they don't get deducted points. Because if you look at all the players that got sold, whether we wanted them or not, they've all gone to clubs that needed players to be sold so they could get the money so they didn't get fined or they didn't get deducted points. Because it was Chelsea, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Everton, Nottingham Forest, Leicester City. It's literally all of those teams. And that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. I'm so glad that we're not involved with that, and we never will be. So let's see what happens. Couple more players are probably going to get sold. Couple more players are going to come in. There's going to be probably another coach or two, which is going to get announced. Let's see what happens. I don't want to see us battling for Calafiores and Nico Williams, and I don't want to see us in the battle for those players. I just don't. I just want us to quietly get on with our work. And if we get Leny Yoro, who's only been linked with us and Real Madrid, by the way, we get Leny Yoro, we get Ait-Nouri, and we get Edison. That's a sensational window. And if we can get Rodrygo as the icing on the cake, that's a 10 out of 10 for me. All right. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. It's 1 o'clock now. You have a great rest of your evening. Why are you still up? I will ask you that, but yeah. And I will catch you up in a couple of days when I do another update. Big up everyone and up the Reds. See you later, everyone.
No one knows me like you. Love the way you do. Just hold me tight. No words I needed.